Okay, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our webinar today. I forgot to turn on my video, so let me do that real quick. All right, perfect. So hello and welcome, learners. This is week 3 of the Communities and Schools University Site Coordinator Learning Pathway Bootcamp. I'm never going to get sick of saying that. And week 3 means that we are halfway done. I know that you guys are going to be very sad when this is over, but I'm very, very excited that we are halfway there. You guys have already gone through, I want to say 6 courses now, since we've had 2 courses for the first 3 sessions, and a lot of information thrown at you, but I really hope that you all are getting everything that you wanted and hoped for out of these webinars, and also on our Yammer groups and things like that. So for those of you that were not able to join us last week, the recording will be posted by the end of tomorrow for you to review in the LMS. And again, I am Ashley Chapman. I'm the Manager of Student Support and Partnerships for the Communities and Schools National Office. I'm joining you from Charlotte, North Carolina, where it is supposed to be warm and sunny since it is the middle of March, but it is freezing, as I'm sure the majority of you that are joining us are, since we have crazy weather going on right now. All right, so let's get started. So here is our very short but sweet agenda for today. We are really, really excited to have a network subject matter expert here presenting for us today. So during our travels at the national office, we often make notes of just really cool things going on at the affiliates, any best practices that we see in the network. We often wonder, how in the world can we get these best practices in front of the entire network to ensure that we're all working with one another and never, ever having to reinvent the wheel? Well, the ladies that we have presenting today have this whole needs assessment and goal setting thing down pat, and we're thrilled to have them with us. So a slide that I'm sure the majority of you are sick of seeing by now is just ways to communicate via WebEx. So again, if you look to the right side of your screen, you will see a little hand icon, and you will see the chat box. The hand icon is just your way of giving us a virtual heads up of, I have a question, I'd like to have my line unmuted so I can ask. And then the chat box is a way for you to chat with all of us. Unfortunately, we don't have the option for you to click all participants, but if you click all panelists or presenters, we will all see it. We can flag the presenter, ask the question, and get you an answer. So this is especially important today, because Alex and Kerry have several questions and ways to interact with you today. So please do not be shy. I know I say this every single week, and I probably sound like a total broken record, but this hour during the week is our live chance to ask questions and to get clarity on things that we may be struggling with in our schools, or really just to pipe up and say something cool that happened to your school this week. How did your needs assessment process go? Did you have something great happen with your school support team? Things like that. And with that being said, there are no dumb questions. There are no dumb comments. There are upwards to about 100 site coordinators moving to this boot camp with us this semester, and each one of you are experts. You don't know it, you might not realize it yet, but you all are experts at the work that you do and changing the lives of our students. So your comment and your questions could help others that are tuned in that might be a little bit too shy to ask. And it also just makes this much more engaging and interacting during these webinars. As always, these webinars are recorded, but we strongly encourage you to join live. All right. So, course objectives. There are a ton of course objectives that were covered in the 2 courses that you were taking this week. It's a lot of material, but as you all already know, for these boot camps, we take the learning objectives and pull out some ways to enhance the courses and make them more interactive to really foster that peer-to-peer learning. So for this week, again, it's all about the needs assessment, matching that needs assessment to goals, and then making sure that you are either providing or brokering those services in the Tier 1, 2, and 3 supports. So everything that you see right in front of you right now, Kerry and Alex.
Hey, Ashley?
Yeah.
We're getting some messages in the chat box. Can you speak clearly or get closer to your microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm also on my cell phone. So my computer was having issues. Surprise, surprise. We always know that there is something technology-wise that is going to go wrong on my end every week. So I really appreciate you guys being patient with me. I'm hoping that this is a little bit better, and I will turn my speaker up. So I cannot remember where I was, but again, with these course objectives, our goal at the national office and for this boot camp is just to make sure that we are bringing everything that you see on those courses to life. And I know that there are a bunch of different learners out there. I am one of those that you can talk until you're blue in the face to me, and until I get in there and I learn it and I see an example, it's in one ear out the other. So again, that's another reason why we have these presenters on the boot camps every single week. Okie doke. So with that being said, I think that we have Alex is clear with her audio today. She was having some issues earlier too, but she is going to walk us through, excuse me, Alex and Kerry are both going to walk us through how they conduct their needs assessment, create goals, and then implement the tiers of support at their school. So Alex Littleton is someone that is going to sound and look familiar to you all, since she has been one of our learning group leaders throughout this entire process of boot camp. So with that being said, Alex, I am going to go ahead and give you the ball so you can move through the slides on your own, and kick it over to you and to Kerry so that you can introduce yourselves.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. So my name is Alex Colton. If you guys been on the webinars before, you probably recognize my name. So I've been with communities and schools for about 2.5 years, started as a site coordinator, and am now working as a regional program director, helping train and supervise other site coordinators in Southwest Virginia and New River Valley. And I will tell you guys, I'm working at a school today, so if you hear a bell ring and kids, that as well. But I will let Kerry Goss introduce herself.
Hey everyone, I'm Kerry Goss. Sorry, I don't have any video today. I do not have a webcam that is working. I am a site coordinator at Virginia Middle School. I've been here since January. Before that, I served at 2 elementary schools. Alex and I actually started at the same time. So I started out on the elementary level, and now I'm on the middle school level. And I'm really happy to be here today.
Okay, thank you, Kerry. So Ashley just asked me and Kerry to kind of talk a little bit about why the needs assessment is important, and then kind of move through how we go about planning our needs assessment and how that process works for us. So first, I just wanted to speak a little bit about why it's important to do your needs assessment. Personally, I think it kind of gives us a starting point, because if we don't know where we are, it's hard to kind of figure out where we're going. And so if you do the full needs assessment and use the templates that National has made available to us, then it will help you do that process and give you a full picture of what the needs of the school are and the needs of the community are. And it also helps us not duplicate services. So the next couple slides are just a snapshot of the needs assessment that I did at the middle school, or Kerry and I did at the middle school this year. So this is all the demographics that we're required to get. And the standards say that we have to get multiple sources of data and gather all of these things together. And I'm not going to go through all this, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things that I feel like are really important. You know, the free and reduced lunch is obviously kind of where you get an idea of what your poverty level is at your school. And then your average daily attendance is also really important, because I know that both Kerry and I have used that to really hone in on setting goals and that sort of thing. So in the other part of that is the mobility rate. Where we are, we have a lot of transiency, and it really affects the students in their education. So if you can get a good mobility rate, I think it really gives you a good snapshot of of what the students are dealing with and what the school is dealing with at the school level. So one of the other things Ashley asked us to talk about is who helped us with our needs assessments. Kerry and I, like she said, started together, and so we've kind of learned this process together, and so I think she would probably agree that we work together on our needs assessment. So we use our teams for community data, and then we use each other looking for some of these demographics and a lot of the community data that we pull together. And if there are any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat box. So, and then school administrators and staff also help provide a lot of this information. We go to the school secretary, the principal, folks in the school board office, just anybody that's going to have some of the information readily available. Okay, now the next slide is, this is a summary of the surveys that we do. So we pull, let me head back, I see in the chat box. So we pull our,
Hi, Alex. We have one question in the chat box. Can you explain a little bit more about retention rate?
Yes. So retention rate is how many students are held back. So, you know, we know from that number is important because we know that kids that are held back even one grade level are that much more at risk of dropping out of school. So it's really important to have that retention rate, especially when you're working like in elementary school and middle school where you're not directly looking at graduation rates all the time. So the retention rate helps you know if a school is holding kids back, and then you can kind of go from there and figure out if those are the kids you need to be working with and that sort of thing. I also see that there's a question about where we pull our demographic information from. So I would say in Southwest Virginia, we are fortunate that the school gives us access to their data management system. So a lot of this we can pull out of there, but the information that we can't get from there, we've asked secretaries, we've asked the school principal, the free and reduced lunch rate, usually your cafeteria manager can give you that rate. I apologize. Give me just a minute. They're making an announcement.
I'm pretty sure everyone on the call is probably used to that sound. You're good.
If I cannot think when they're making an announcement. Okay.
I'm sure.
All right. So, yeah. So that's, I mean, for the most part, that's where we get our demographic information. You can also get it, you know, Virginia Department of Education. I assume that all states have a state education website where you can get some of these statistics too. You know, it just depends on what time of year you're pulling it, how accurate it is, but they have a lot of information too. So on the surveys, we have gotten into the habit of starting our needs assessment process at the end of the school year. So into April, into May, we will start doing surveys with teachers, faculty, parents, and students. So these surveys are pretty general. They're, you know, what do you think the highest needs are at the school? You know, there's just 10 or 12 questions about what they think the needs are at the school and what the biggest issues facing kids are. We have found that the best way to do teachers and faculty is to do a Survey Monkey. You can do that free for, I think, 10 questions. You can do it free. Students, I've also used Survey Monkey or Planet Survey, I think is what it's called, or also just paper copies. But that takes a little time calculating the results. where we kind of always run into issues doing surveys with parents, because you send them home and parents don't send them back. At elementary, we've had a little more success offering students a piece of candy if they bring the survey back. You know, when you get to secondary level, that becomes a little trickier on how to do that. So we continue to try to figure out ways to poll parents and get a better response. If we're having an event towards the end of the year where parents are invited, we might try to do it there. You know, I feel pretty confident in saying probably across the network, engaging parents, getting their input, and having constant contact with them is always going to be one of our top issues. Okay. And I'm seeing questions in the chat box about mobility rate. The easiest way to calculate that is to take the number of students that have transferred into your school plus the number of students that have transferred out, and then divide that by the total school population. So, and if you want, I could probably leave that on Yammer so that it's available for you guys.
That would be great. And you said it was the number of students transferred into your school minus the number of students transferred out. Is that what you said?
No, it added together. So the number in plus the number out divided by the total.
Cool. I'll type it in the chat box too.
Okay. Yeah, and I know in our school district they're required to kind of keep track of that. So obviously I don't know if that's true for all of them, but hopefully you can at least get those two numbers. So are there any questions about surveys? And then the other part, go ahead.
Oh, I said I don't see any right now, so you can continue.
Okay. Okay. And then interviews, part of the standard is that we interview administrators and other key stakeholders. And I really find that if you can find 3 to 5 people that you can interview, having that one-on-one, face-to-face conversation, you can get a little more information than you might be able to in just doing a standard survey that they fill out. Okay, and then the other part is that you have to have community data, and you can find most of this information online. The U.S. Census Bureau obviously has a lot of different information about whatever community you're living in. Kids Count has a lot of stuff, and I found that American Fact Finder also had some other interesting information. And when I was researching some of the stuff, there's a lot of information that you can pull and you can put in there, but if it doesn't add anything to the total picture, then it doesn't really make sense to put in there. So like the information that I put on American Fact Finder, I thought it was really telling that of people living in poverty, only 4.3% worked full-time during the last year. So that might tell me that maybe I need to do a tier 1 on teachers, or not teachers, on parents finding employment or something like that. So, I think just pick and choose the information that you think gives you a fuller picture of what the community is facing. Okay, so we thought it would be fun to give you guys kind of a summary of our needs assessment and then let you use the chat box to maybe shoot out some ideas of what you think some goals should be for our school. So when a summary of the teachers and faculty, their biggest concerns were attendance, poverty, and just kind of all the issues that go around poverty, and parent involvement. So after doing all the surveys and interviews and that sort of thing, these were the themes that just kept coming back up. Then when going through the risk assessment, there were a lot of risks, but I picked out a few ones that kind of went along with the surveys that we thought were the highest needs. So high mobility or transiency. So like you saw in the demographic, we have a 29% transiency rate, so that's really high. High rates of absenteeism, low commitment towards school, again, high poverty, lack of parent engagement, and excessive social activity. So if you were going to take this information and create goals, what goals would you create? So use the chat box to put out some ideas. So remember, you know, we cannot make every issue a goal because you are only one person and you can only affect so many things. So choosing 2 to 3 goals or 2 or 3 of the most important needs and trying to focus on those.
All right, folks, and this is your chance to just type some ideas of goals in the chat box that you have, and we're hoping to get some interaction here and just really to start brainstorming. Act as if this was your needs assessment. What would you do? Someone's got to be the brave one to type in there first or to raise your hand.
We have Ron Turbyfield says his goal would be to increase attendance by 5%.
Yeah, that would be, that's a great goal. And that's really specific, which is when you're creating goals, it's good to be really specific, like 5% or 6% or whatever.
Ron also says another goal would be to decrease tardies by 10%.
Decrease, I'm sorry, what?
Tardies, late people.
Right. Yep.
Thanks for your participation, Ron.
I'm sorry, what?
I was just thanking Ron for being the brave one to submit a goal. Looks like everyone else might be being a little bit shy today. So if you want to reveal your goals, let's Alex.
Well, then I will show you what our goals were. So, Ron, just very similar to what you said, one of the goals was to increase the ADA from 92.5% to 94%. So we try really hard to set realistic and achievable goals. So that's why you'll see it's just from 92.5% to 94%. And then we set parent engagement as one of our goals. So we wanted to engage 30% of parents in some sort of school-based event. So that would be about roughly 150 students, or not students, but parents for the school that we were in. And then the other one I wanted to put in here, socio-emotional learning. We did include that as a goal because we felt like, you know, students were lacking some social skills and connection to their school and some of those sorts of things. However, we don't have a really good concrete way of measuring socio-emotional learning at this point. So to measure that, we decided to use behavioral referrals. So hopefully through providing social-emotional learning opportunities for students, we would decrease behavioral referrals by 5%. So, any questions about the goals? Okay. Oh, I was not supposed to go to that slide yet. So, next question and opportunity for participation. So, if these are your goals, what supports could you put in place to get your school to meet these goals? So, for example, what kind of attendance plans could you put in place to increase the ADA from 92.5% to 94%? Does anybody have any ideas?
It looks like Jackie Woody had said increase parent involvement by 10% by conducting a parent survey. And then Cindy Horde said coursework, increase graduation rate to 92% or higher for the 16-17 fiscal year.
Yep, those are good goals.
Catherine Sinclair said to put in place some school-wide attendance incentives. And Ron Turbyfield said check to see if there are bus and transportation problems and work to solve those.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are all things that you could do. So why don't I let Kerry talk a little bit about some of the supports that she's used that have targeted some of these goals. And then if any of you have more ideas, please keep putting them in the chat box.
Okay, so I'm just going to share with you all a few examples based on the goals that Alex just talked about. So for example, a Tier 1 goal based on attendance, we used a perfect punctuality attendance competition at an elementary school. And this was a competition between classes or among classes where they each tried to earn a letter in perfect punctuality by being on time and there every day. And that's something that the students really seemed to connect with and they really liked. And they made it a point to be there and on time because they knew their other classmates were depending on them to be there. And another possibility, or something that we've used and it would be another possibility for others, for attendance, we've used bulletin boards to recognize students with perfect attendance, those with the most improved attendance, those with you know, perfect attendance, that type of thing. And that's been successful because students enjoy seeing their name or their picture on the board and being recognized for that. An example of a tier, do you want me to give examples of all the tiers, Alex, or just a few?
Yeah, I think, yeah, do one from each tier because just want to show you how we can, you know, support one goal using all three tiers of support.
An example of a Tier 2 would be an attendance group that was that the main goal was to improve attendance or to improve tardies within a group of students. And a way that I have done that is by tracking, say, from the beginning. Like, for example, we just started a new 9 weeks here at the middle school. So taking their attendance at the end of the last 9 weeks and giving them a specific goal to work towards in the last semester of school. So by doing that, you give them, hey, this is where you are, and you know, sometimes seeing it on paper is a big surprise, not only for students but parents to see actually how many days they've missed. And then this is what we want to get you to, and if you meet that goal, then giving them an incentive. And so, for example, using movie passes or a pizza party, something of that nature. An example of Tier 3, for example, I have a student who has had an attendance problem for a while, and so we meet with her. I meet with her on an individual basis, and Alex did before I did, and we talked to her about, when you meet with them individually, you find out a lot about underlying reasons why they might be missing school. And for example, in this, for this particular student, girl drama was a big factor, and a lot of times she doesn't want to come to school because she wants to avoid the conflict and everything that goes along with it. So with an individual, you could have an individual attendance plan that you work on with that student, and you put together with that student, and they check in with you on a daily basis, and you know that they have some accountability, and then at the end of each week, they're rewarded for each week that they're there. and you set a time for that. You know, you make it specific so that each week they're rewarded and they know how long, you know, that it's going to go on. And usually you'll have good success with that. It really just depends from student to student. But those would be some examples of things that you could do to support the goal of improving attendance.
Hey, Kerry, this is Ashley. We have, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we have a couple of really great ideas coming through in the chat box that I just wanted to read out loud.
Sure.
We have, oh man, more are coming in. These are really great. So for Tier 1, Cindy Horde said in the beginning of the school year that includes school-wide rally competition between the grades for the highest attendance average for the quarter. I thought was really cool. Catalina said use a check-in system in the morning for students with attendance tardiness challenges with a caring adult in the building, who they might trust. It strengthens their relationship and gives them someone to look forward to coming to school for. And then we have one more. Stephanie says incentives are harder at the high school level sometimes. Our team uses outings and trips and pizza parties, but those are few and far between. And she wants to know if anyone has any great ideas about shorter term immediate gratification for teenagers. So if there are any high school site coordinators on the line that might have some ideas for Stephanie, please feel free to chat them in the chat box down there, because it looks like I agree. I also was a site coordinator in a high school, and there was very little that they would get excited about. Pizza parties, you know, we were able to hold school dances where attendance was a factor, but you know, that's not really the best incentive for all teenagers. So any ideas that you guys have, and Kerry, Alex, feel free to chime in, obviously. But yeah, so just keep them coming in the chat box. And we have Jackie Woody said, during check-ins each morning, kids stop by to report their present and receive a fist bump or a high five and candy. That's really great too. Thank you for typing that in, Jackie.
Yeah, I think actually I've not worked at the high school level, but I think the Tier 3 for your highest attendance kids, you know, checking in with them and building that relationship. You know, I think kids of all ages will do more if they've got a relationship with somebody than just working towards a pizza party somewhere down the line. Doesn't work with all of them, but it might some. So, and then food coupons from local restaurants for perfect attendance. I think that's a great idea too. So let's move on to the next goal area of parent engagement. And I will again let Kerry take that and talk about some of the things that we've done that worked well.
Okay.
Well, we had one suggestion from Jackie, or from Jasmine Cruz, about high school students. She says high school students love snacks and junk food like hot Cheetos, Hot Pockets, if you have a microwave, movie tickets, or bowling vouchers.
Great ideas. I also love those things, and I'm not a high school student, so it makes total sense.
Okay. All right, so the next example that we have up is parent engagement. And under Tier 1, a couple of things that we have done. First, Alex held a parent portal training here at the middle school, which she invited parents to come in, and she fed them pizza, and she let them know about a resource that a lot of parents don't use or don't know about, and that's an online parent portal where they can parents can check students' grades, they can check to see if they have missing assignments, they can check, you know, just a variety of different things, and a lot of parents don't take advantage of that. So she used that opportunity to try to draw parents in by offering them free pizza and going over and offering one of the school staff offered a training to the parents on how to use the parent portal. Another thing that we do frequently, which we've done something like this every year since Alex and I have been site coordinators, we have some sort of parent resource fair This year, we're actually partnering with one of the school departments, and we're going to be holding a parent resource fair at the end of the year. And basically what all that is where we invite in a lot of community agencies, anyone that might be an asset to our parents, that might offer a service or a resource that our parents would need. And we invite them in, and we hold some sort of fair where, we give parents incentives and families incentives for coming. We have giveaways and food, some sort of fun activity. And that gives parents an opportunity to connect with local agencies and learn more about those agencies and make initial contact with them, as needed on an individual basis. A Tier 2 example would be we are actually in the process of planning a budgeting counseling class for parents. So, for example, Alex has financial planning class for parents of case-managed students. And that would be good to target those parents who might ask for financial assistance on a regular basis. And actually, most parents could probably benefit from it, but, especially targeting those who have a history of not being able to pay their bills on time, or, asking for financial assistance on a regular basis. And then Tier 3 is basically it's case management with the family. You're offering, not only are you working with the student, but you're working with their family, and you're working with the parents, and you're in contact with them on a regular basis, offering them any kind of support that they might need, because helping the family, is obviously going to help the student as well. And we coordinate a lot of care between families and other agencies as well. But that's basically just part of the case management of each student. And to case manage a student, you have to be involved with their family as well.
Hey, Kerry, do you mind just talking a little bit more about that resource fair? We had a question come in the chat box just asking about where the money comes from, the food and everything for the resource fair. Is it donated? What does that look like?
In some cases it is. We've had, in some cases we've gotten deals from local pizza places where they've reduced the prices of pizza. Our executive director, the last fair that we had, worked with a local pizza place, and they gave us a deal on that, and we used some of our own money. This year we're partnering with the Parents Resource Center, which is a department at the central office, part of the school system where we work, and she gets a grant, and she's going to be using that grant money for a lot of this. And this is the first year we've done that, so if you can piggyback off of another agency, whether it be a school agency or another community agency, a lot of places do things on a regular basis. They have some sort of annual event that helps, or if you have money in your budget for food, and then sometimes you can get it donated. It just depends on how large of a crowd you're expecting, how many people you expect. But like this year, like I said, we are partnering with someone who has a grant that's going to cover a lot of that.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Kerry, that two things. The staff person we're coordinating with, she gets this grant through special ed department at the state level, and then our state office has also provided us a grant to help pay for this. So, but like Kerry said, I mean, we've called and begged and borrowed, and we try to get in touch with anybody and everybody that will be willing to donate or give or do something at a reduced rate.
Awesome. And it looks like someone typed in the chat box, Cynthia said that she has 2 programs with grants that are able to help pay for food at events too. So it looks like it's obviously going to differ, you know, all over the network. But again, if any of you guys have ideas or, you know, maybe have some great connections that you'd like to share for the resource fairs and, you know, other ideas like that, again, feel free to type them up in the chat box, or because we are getting a lot of questions about this kind of thing, which is awesome. Is also going to be putting together a little chat on Yammer just for later after the webinar. So sorry to interrupt you again, Kerry. Continue.
That's okay. Actually, I think that was pretty much the end of it. So
we have a really wonderful program that Cindy Horde is doing as a Tier 1 support. She says in April she's having a family near focusing on job interviews, or a family fair focusing on job interviews and resumes. Students will be put through mock interview by professionals in the community, and parents will be able to have their resumes looked at and get advice on how to begin a resume if they don't have one. HR professionals will also be looking over their resumes and giving general job advice.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea.
Okay, Alex and Kerry, is that it for you all? Do you want to pause for some questions for everyone?
Yeah, I think that's about all we have planned. So if anybody has any questions, and I'll just say we didn't include 3 tiers of support for the socio-emotional learning goal. That one this year we really just did small groups on a Tier 2 level for those using a curriculum that we found online. So, but that is pretty much it.
That is perfect. I actually have a question that was typed in earlier. What's one of the biggest challenges that you all see while creating that needs assessment? You don't have to, I'm sure, I know from experience there are a lot of challenges, but what is your, what's the biggest challenge?
I would say time. You know, to do every piece of it takes a lot of time, and you have to kind of, I think, to do it justice, you have to start at the end of the school year to prepare for the next school year. And then, like I said earlier, getting the parent surveys and their input back is really challenging. I mean, like the last time I did it, you know, we have 550 kids at our middle school, and I sent home a survey with every student, and I got 50 back. So it was not a great subsection of the parents of the school. But you know, you take the information you have and the people that you talk to, and just do your best to pull all that information together.
I would add that another challenge of the needs assessment, and I find this, I think I've had this pretty much happen every year. A lot of times the data that you get back, you know, like say from your principal versus community agencies versus parents, you know, and teachers, sometimes there's just such a difference. And so, you know, you obviously want to kind of to lean toward what the administration wants and what the school leadership wants, but sometimes you find that doesn't always fall in line with what you're getting elsewhere. So, you know, I found that to be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Kerry, that, you know, sometimes what comes out of your needs assessment may not necessarily match what your administration is wanting you to do. So you have to kind of walk that line of doing some of the things that they want you to do, but also following where the needs take you.
Thank you both. That's really great. I also had something else pop up in the chat box, just again about that parent involvement activity. Jackie Woody said another great parent engagement activity is a parent advisory council. So I'm not sure how many of you on the call have put together a parent advisory council. if there is anything that you could maybe share with us on our Yammer group, Jackie, you know, if it's an agenda for that council, if it's, you know, how you targeted the parents, any flyers, one-pagers, things like that. I think that would be really great to share if you don't mind, Jackie. I know that the parent engagement is it's huge, obviously, and I think that a lot of people would benefit from that. All right, so Catalina said, or is asking, excuse me, what sort of community partners do you have and how have you used them?
Oh, we have a lot of community partners. Well, on our support team, we have someone from our community service board, from another mental health agency. We have folks from the school system. Kerry, I'm drawing a blank. Who else do we partner with?
You mentioned like the local mental health agency. Well, a couple of them actually. There's a couple of different agencies that work with our students. And we work with Department of Social Services. And then, of course, you know,
housing, the Housing Authority.
Yes, that's another huge one, housing.
Mm-hmm. We really have tried to tap into the social service network in our community because, you know, Kerry and I both came to this job not having worked in the social service sector recently. So we've really relied on them to kind of help lead us where the resources are.
That's great. Thank you. So I am going to move into the boot camp resource slide just because this is how we always end our time together on Thursdays. But again, feel free to continue typing in any questions or comments that you have for Alex and Kerry or myself and Deanna, any comments and questions that you have. But I did want to give a shameless plug for myself here. Catalina, you actually got me started on the right foot here asking about partners because as you all know, I manage our national partnerships for the national office here, and I have put together a webinar that, although it is targeting rural affiliates, it's actually for all affiliates. All site coordinators can join. It's called Connecting Partners to Rural Affiliates. However, all of the partners, we have 3 amazing national partnerships or partners that are going to be presenting. We have one that focuses on college and career readiness called EMSI, called Find Your Calling, and it's a free resource that you all, I think, would really get a lot out of. We also have 4-H that is going to be presenting, and then we also have Girl Up, which is a branch off of UNICEF, and Girl Up is all about the girl empowerment groups. And they're a really cool organization that I think that you guys would benefit from as well. So that webinar is on April 4th at 2 p.m. and I am sending that information in the chat box. Again, a total shameless plug on my part because I am going to be hosting that webinar, but figured that I would just put a plug here too because it seems that this conversation just, I mean, we talked about brokering these services, but we also, we talked about, providing these services, but we also talked a lot about brokering these tiers of support. So I think that, I don't know, I would love it if you guys could join that webinar. And then another thing, if you all feel comfortable with it, just shooting me or Deanna an email, or again in the chat box, it'll come directly to both of us. Just your feedback of today's webinar, your feedback of the Communities and Schools University courses as a whole. I know that at the end of each course, you should have a little pop-up just, you know, asking for your feedback, that kind of thing. We don't ask that just for our own good. We actually do really want to hear from you. We want to hear what's going right. We want to hear what's going wrong. How can we do better? Again, this is all about just making a space for us to learn and grow together. So please, 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 any feedback that you have would be really greatly appreciated. So with that being said, I see no other questions in the chat box. I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to Kerry and Alex. You guys are both crazy busy, as we all are in this call, but you did not hesitate at all when asked to present to the group, and I cannot thank you enough. You're both super engaging. You gave a lot of great resources, a lot of great ideas, and hopefully we will be able to continue this conversation over on Yammer. I think that Deanna is going to be setting that up soon-ish. We're having some, again, technical issues with Yammer today, but we'll be setting that up, so be on the lookout. All of the resources that you have in front of you, I know I close with this every single week, but just please know that you have a lot of support, not only from the learning group leaders, from myself, from Deanna, and also from all of you. So just make sure that we're really taking advantage of the Yammer group, our time together on Thursdays. And again, I can't thank you enough, Kerry and Alex. And Deanna, thank you very much for dropping that Yammer conversation in the chat box. Again, would love it if you could attend the webinar on April 4th and our Yammer discussions. But with that being said, I'm going to give you 7 minutes back in your Thursday. I hope that you all have a very safe St. Patrick's Day weekend. And thank you again, Alex and Kerry. We'll talk to you next Thursday, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.